The following preview has been rated R for oral nudity, sexual situations, a Goofy movie, and Paul Lynde. Listener discretion is advised. From Last Pint Productions, the studio that brought you...
Any more, treats?
And...
It's Nerd Rope, motherfucker!
Comes this century's wildest new comedy. Nick Santacroce was a simple guy who only wanted people to love a Goofy movie as much as he did. But then he met Matt, who showed him there was more to life than Powerline. But when these two nerds hook up with dueling Paul Lynde impersonators Kevin and Ryan, things are gonna get out of control. How will these four morons make it to the big talent competition in Vegas? Who will make the first pedophile joke? And where the hell is Ben Wilson? If you're looking for laughs, you'll find it here. It's the New Way Podcast, a slapstick, madcap, screwball comedy podcast of errors, coming soon.
It's only Powerline, Dad, the biggest rock star on the planet?
A lot bigger than Xavier Cugat, the Mambo King.
Oh, shut up, Pee-wee.
Why don't you make me?
Why don't you make me? Because I don't make monkeys, I just trade them. I can't see! I can't see! What's the matter?
I had my eyes closed.
It's Screwballs.
Nice shot.
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Hello and welcome to another episode of the New Way Podcast, coming to you from Last Pint Productions in Boynton Beach.
I'm Ben Wilson.
You don't look like Ben Wilson. You have not knocked anything over, so I'm going to call shenanigans on that.
Well, I do feel this weird urge sitting in this chair to go off on a tangent about Dark Star.
Just Hulk out and start talking about movies from the 30s, pre-code movies, as Ben always refers to them.
Well, let's just say if I can make it the whole podcast without knocking over this shelf of Guardian dolls, I will have done slightly better than Ben in this position.
Yes, it's true. So Ben is on assignment in Boston getting beer.
Connecticut, actually. He stopped in Boston to get to beer and then drove to the shoot in Connecticut.
Of course. That sounds exactly correct. And we
hey,
also...
he's going to be so close. Might as well stop by Trillium, know what I'm saying?
Well, I thought he did go to Trillium. Yeah,
he did.
Went to,
He went to Trillium and he went to somewhere else. So two Boston breweries, and then he drove to Connecticut.
I assume you can fly into Connecticut just normal, right?
Well, Trillium is in Boston, Matt. You're not listening.
I know. I got that.
The beer is in Boston.
I wanted to be sure that he legitimately went out of his way on... There was no other way he could get to where he was going.
There's probably a flight into Connecticut, yeah.
Of course.
Yes.
I've heard they have an airport or two in there.
Who the fuck was that?
Whoa, it sounded...
That didn't sound like...
That was sexy.
I don't understand. Who the hell was it? Well,
so a familiar tone.
We're gonna get over here in just a second.
Matt Shank, this is your live.
We have a couple of episodes we're gonna be running back to back here where we're missing one of our trio of Matt, Ben, and Nick. For those of you that listen each week, next week we're going, which is not a whole lot of you, and most of you know us anyway. So why do we even bother with the intros? But we have Paul Mamolino coming in next week to sit in for Nick.
Coming in hot.
Definitely coming in hot. But Paul has actually been on the show before, but you haven't heard it because we broke the podcast episode pretty good, or I should say I broke it, and it's I'm working on stitching it back together a little bit. But we have,
and being available on Stitcher, the new podcast.
This is true.
Platform.
Well, we have a lot of updates on our website, on our Facebook page, our Instagram page. We have a lot of big things in store. I think we're going to be launching a few new things in a few weeks, some more video content. So stand by. We have a lot of really good stuff for the fall.
And the Paul Mamolino episode is just going to be him singing the soundtrack to Hedwig and the Angry Inch for an hour and a half, right?
For the most part. I mean, he's gonna. We told him he had to get into a dress, which he just did in general anyway. So
at least 90 minutes. Good. I want you to focus on Hedwig, please.
But I have to. I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest,
it's okay,
on this podcast tonight, because inarguably one of the most famous 80s duos is on the show tonight, and I don't know how to
look familiar.
I don't know how to really I don't want to. I can say legally we have the Thompson Twins on tonight's episode of the New Way Podcast. Please say hello, Thompson Twins.
Hello everybody.
They're a little shy. I mean,
They're just so shocked because they've never heard this joke before.
Yes, this is well. We do have the Thompson Twins here tonight. Oh, that's enough of that.
Record
All right,
scratch.
that's enough. We have Kevin.
The original Thompson Twins predates the band.
79.
This is true. Yeah, you guys are
Currently
born in
in
79, so you
litigation.
do predate the actual Thompson. How
And
many
they're not
times-
even twins. They're original Thompson Twins. There's no twins.
A little bitterness there.
You should have sued them based on that you were actual twins.
I tried. My parents wouldn't let me at the time. I wanted to get a retainer, but
we were still in negotiation for emancipation.
So this makes sense to everyone else out there. Good friends of ours, Kevin and Ryan Thompson, are here in studio, and they are in fact twins, born in '79 in August.
Yes,
your birthday was just around the corner. And how many times did you hear did you hear the Thompson Twins joke more growing up or more as you got older?
Honestly, the first time I heard it was in high school. Which was,
that actually somebody was like, "Oh yeah, you guys are the Thompson Twins," and because I don't think really, grade school kids probably it was under their radar, and
they probably knew the song. I don't remember, like I wouldn't associate it with it till after it was popular.
It was the guy that would write people up for attendance, and we were both late. And he basically made the comment. He's like, "Oh my gosh, the Thompson Twins!" And
he would listen to the Thompson Twins.
That's all he listened to as he seethed and watched people break the rules in school in front of him.
When he wasn't hanging out with the new wave kids.
Clearly, the Thompson Twins had attendance issues. So.
I mean,
mostly tardies.
I knew you
times.
Well, I knew Kevin for several years before I knew he had a twin. And then I knew you for several years past that, including having met you, Ryan, for the first time before I put two and two together with the Thompson Twins joke, which is really sad for me. But I was so excited the first time it popped into my head.
I was there for that moment. I was in the room. Like Penn Jillette. I don't remember exact. I was in the room.
No, we were in a car driving somewhere, and the Thompson Twins came on, and I went, holy shit.
It was
Kevin and his brother are the Thompson Twins.
It was that slow look back to Kevin in the back seat, and then the eye contact, and then he got as big as dinner plates.
No, I don't think Kevin was actually there. I literally just saw Thompson Twins for the first time.
I know I was there. I don't remember anything.
No,
that
you
happened.
were there. I don't think Kevin was there.
Well, I'm just saying I was there, but I clearly don't remember a single detail of this story correctly. I was in a car in the kitchen.
I just remember seeing the name because that song came on, that Hold Me Now, and I love the end of it where he does the call, the ask and answer back to himself.
Pretty in Pink? Is that what that's in?
Hold me now in your loving arms. That part is, and I was singing that exact part, and I went, "Holy shit!" Kevin and his brother are Thompson
in your loving arms.
And I was like, "I'm the first guy to ever think of that, and I'm a genius."
Well, you're one of few.
Apparently
actually,
not.
One of the few. Put it together.
So yeah, we do have Kevin and Ryan on. Kevin and Ryan are two of our only friend group that are kind of right in the same age range as me. All three of us born in the 70s, legitimately in the 70s, which is crazy.
That's twice you brought their age.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they're twins. We have to constantly. It's like the.
Are you going to tell her my social security number now?
If I could,
just
I
the
would.
last 4 digits.
Mother's maiden name and
last 2 digits.
name of first pet.
So you guys, we're going to get into our topic tonight, but we have, I think all of us, and Nick as well, actually, really share a lot of affinity for strange, old school nostalgia humor.
I myself am strange and old school.
Exactly. Including a predilection for Paul Lynde moments, which Kevin and I watched the Paul Lynde Halloween episode,
It was
Halloween
fantastic.
show.
I'm the one that sent Kevin that thing.
I wasn't there for that. Well, I was there for the Thompson Twins thing. I wish I could have been there for the Paul Lynde special.
It was great. We had Kiss and Florence Henderson.
Oh, it was amazing.
Dude, Paul Lynde and Florence Henderson make out in that for the most awkward kiss I've ever witnessed, I think, in my entire life.
Awkward or awesome?
No, it's awkward. I don't
And
know.
awesome.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's both of those. But I think Kevin had come over that night originally because you guys had gone on a deep dive on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom about for those of you out there who are super familiar with the movie, there's a little bit of a continuity error between where Indy's girl is trying to get back. She gets captured, but then she's
if you
not
watch
captured.
if you watch the movie closely, you can tell in that one scene where they're captured that she gets away, and there's this whole sequence where she makes it back to the palace, and Chatterlal is there, and
So that
this isn't the hot Nazi. This is the other one.
No. This is his current wife, Kate Capshaw.
But it's only somebody, it's only something if you've seen the movie about
Willie.
20 plus times.
Well, they don't
and,
show her get back.
Yeah.
It's just you can tell she runs in the background.
Yeah. Well, they show her escape.
But
so we don't know. Yeah, we don't know where she goes.
Novelizations, you can read that. That's what happens.
Whoa, breaking out the novelizations, nice.
And I think that's why you guys are
if
really.
you still have them, I will take them off your hands.
You guys are a really good match for the podcast because literally the Paul Lynde night started with Kevin texting me going, "Do you have the Indiana Jones Blu-ray? I'm trying to track down the scene where Willie gets back to escapes her captor and
there are a lot of deleted scenes I wanted to see too, and I know Spielberg isn't one for showing. Yeah, that was the icebreaker, and I was like, I'm gonna come over and watch them. And I waited for you to invite me over, but I was gonna come over anyway.
I gotta remember that move. That's smooth.
Well, we watched like the 3 featurettes on Indiana Jones, and then it was like, what would really go well with this? The Paul Lynde Halloween special.
I
think
Indiana
it was tagged somehow. It was tagged within,
I like Indiana Jones, but I love Paul Lynde. Is there a way that we can...
Kids running away screaming and Paul Lynde, it was just...
Kevin's on the phone, he's like, Matt's never going to go for this Paul Lynde thing. Let me work him over with a little bit of Indiana Jones first.
Matt twisted his own arm to save you the trouble.
It was the Indiana Jones Trojan horse, the oldest trick in the book. So you guys, growing up, I think a big influential thing for...
I'm sorry, I thought we were going to talk about Paul Lynde.
I mean, if you'd like to say more about Paul Lynde...
You can stay in character as Paul Lynde for the rest of the podcast.
Oh, okay.
We have the Thompson Twins.
So when did you see
your
first dead body, Paul?
Well, I was... it was on the set of Bye Bye Birdie. We were supposed to break for lunch, but we didn't, and then one of the craft services just keeled over.
Oh my God, Paul, that's terrible.
It was.
It's scarring me for life. Wow.
Well, the audience really liked that one, Kevin. Well, good job.
You got to warm them up a little bit. They came around in the end.
So you guys, being children of childs of the 80s, you were kind of, I think, similar to me. You were children of cable television, having movie channels, which didn't really exist before. So that I think, very different from kids today they can watch anything and anywhere. So they're never really finding just random things that they have to watch. They can always choose exactly what they want. Versus you turn on HBO or Showtime.
You can just Google Hot Springs Hotel now.
I'm still like that. I don't watch something unless it's on TV or something. You could have a movie, but you don't watch it till it comes on TV.
And there's so many things I think you just discovered as a kid, and like you might watch like the end of it. Like one time you see that and you're like, oh, hopefully that airs again this week, and I'll catch the beginning of it, and eventually maybe I'll put together a whole single movie. What are some of the movies you kind of grew up on the cable stations? Were there any ones that were played a lot over and over again?
I'm going to let Ryan take this one.
Okay. Well, I would definitely say Back to the Future was one that, HBO was really the main one. And of course, I think a lot of people were, they would tape it off HBO because you didn't have to worry about the commercials.
I think with Back to the Future, we actually rented a VCR and taped it with 2 VCRs playing.
That was the old school.
That was the way to do it. That's
the reel to reel.
That was the whole
before anybody read that whole FBI warning at the beginning of movies.
We make sure we copied only after that part. Wow. We didn't have that on ours. Why we never even saw that?
You slipped from the toilet and hit your head and got the idea to duplicate Back to the Future.
Were there any ones that were just on repeat?
All the Star Wars movies, Back to the Future, Indiana Jones movies.
Broadcast News.
Broadcast News. God, I love that movie, man. What about you, Nick? Do you have any childhood, like just on a loop?
On a loop, man. I mean, we already have covered UHF and Howard the Duck so much in this podcast. I'm going to stray away from that.
That's okay. I mean,
I will say this much. Every time I faked sick, Ferris Bueller's Day Off was on TNT every single time.
Well, so you were watching on TNT, which were the commercial ones, because there were a lot of weird movies that would show up on HBO, like a Dr. Detroit, which is a really weird Dan Aykroyd movie where he met his wife. He's married to this. Dan Aykroyd's married to Donna Dixon, exactly. it's a fucking weird movie. It is not a kid. It's not a movie for kids whatsoever. But it was on HBO, so I'm like, oh, that's the guy. It's Dan Aykroyd. I know Dan Aykroyd, so I'm just gonna watch this movie, and it's gonna be fucking great. And it's not.
You know what? My family watched What About Bob? Every
really?
family night when you're like, what are we gonna watch? We would throw that one on. That was the default pizza night movie.
That's such a good flick.
It's really good.
It's not racy. It's a pretty good family film.
Yeah, not too bad. Now, so
it's got a little bit of a bite, but not too bad.
It's the mild of Taco Bell sauce.
Enough to make me think that I was getting away with something watching it with my family, but not really.
True. Now, so you guys, I mean, as twins, I'm sure
Murder therapy, Bob.
You've had, I'm sure you've
death
had
therapy.
Steps to the front door.
So we're gonna be talking tonight about comedies, and we're gonna get a little more specific than that. But as you guys as twins, did you ever have any wacky twin comedy moments in your real life? Did you ever do the twin?
No, never.
We didn't actually realize we were twins until we were about 14. No, we did. I mean, it really, a lot of times people just automatically would get confused if they didn't know us.
You don't really have to
you
try
didn't really
very
have to
hard.
try hard to mess with people's minds. But once we knew that people thought they, had us down as far as telling us apart,
we had a
switch
teacher
shoes,
who,
or we would do
because we
something.
wore different high tops, different Converse, and one more black, one was navy. I think I wore navy blue, and we switched shoes, and all the kids knew, but she didn't know. And then, of course, the kids ruined it by the end of the day,
because they're laughing, and they.
Oh man,
it's not the funniest.
Asshole.
That's just
it was that safety patrol kid again, wasn't it?
It might have been, yeah.
Asshole.
Yeah.
So you guys do look alarmingly alike. So I assume you are identical twins, not just fraternal that look very similar.
This is what I'm told. Yes.
Since we were 14, yes.
Excellent. So, yeah, I want to kind of get into our topic tonight, and I think there's going to be a lot of kind of discussion and debate over whether there are rules or not to this topic. But we're going to be talking about comedies, and comedy is split into a ton of different kind of sub-genres. One of those that we've covered before in the podcast was last week's episode where we talked about dark comedies. And we have on another episode, we've talked about romantic comedies, and we've talked about buddy comedies, and we've talked about parodies, which is a whole other genre. And the only thing I told these guys is I wanted to discuss slapstick. And I did.
Slapstick?
You're looking very alarming.
I don't think I prepared correctly.
Basically broad comedies whose only goal is really laughter. So I
think I misread what we were talking about.
You said chapstick comedies, and you got only ski movies, I imagine, is what you did.
The biopic from Bert, from the beeswax fame.
Well, so what I think is kind of interesting, so I really wanted to look at things like no Wes Anderson movies, right? Or no Coen Brothers movies, which I think are a little bit more, they're deeper comedies, they're dealing with more thematic issues.
Well, they have serious moments, too.
Yes,
so I think
movies are just out for the jugular of
nothing
comedy.
Serious to it.
And I mean, and I think when you were kind of talking about slapstick, you're starting with the Stooges, which are kind of the original sort of. There's no plot really. There's a very thin plot, and it's really
didn't
just.
They meet Frankenstein once? That was a pretty lofty arc.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, and I was never a big Stooges fan, to be honest.
Is Stooges where Shemp is the fourth and forgotten Stooge?
There's Shemp, Larry Moe, Curly, Shemp, and then there's two others.
I think there was a Little Rascals crossover too. Little Rascals meet the Three Stooges,
and then Scooby-Doo too. I think showed up one episode.
All right, Infinity War. You think you had the most ambitious crossover? Fuck you.
Was anyone here a Stooges fan? Did you guys ever get into the Stooges?
Iggy Pop? Yeah,
Passenger, best song ever.
I was waiting for that joke to hit.
I got you. One of those
You're
things
welcome.
that
You're
showed,
welcome.
It was one of those things that showed randomly during the day. So if you were watching television, you could catch yourself just watching a whole little short. But I don't think people went out of their way for the most part to catch it.
Well, yeah, and I
I remember thinking it was kind of lame. My dad would keep trying to sit me down and watch a classic Stooge. Just like,
They're all kind of interchangeable. It doesn't really matter what they're doing.
I like a little nuance. Dad, can you turn on Pee-wee's Playhouse, please?
Well, I was gonna say so pretty much everyone in the room saying not a Three Stooges fan. What about Looney Tunes?
Later, I can definitely respect the Stooges.
I think the physical comedy is definitely something that they don't do today, and I don't know. I mean, it's an
interesting take on that. Yeah, well, and that's kind of what I want to discuss.
I think we're more cynical, and we've become, we're more on quick wordplay and very condescending comedy, and almost like a
very sarcastic kind of a little angrier. And there's also kind of that absurdist.
You can't be.
Angle.
It's hard to be that light in a way. I mean, to say it was light, they're hitting each other with wrenches and everything. But
yeah, I mean,
whoa, slow down, home skillet.
Well, and that was
I'm gonna Juno you.
Well, and there's still. I mean, we still have today where someone falls down and it's done for humor. Someone gets hit with something, or someone, Neighbors has Seth Rogen sitting on.
I always prefer people falling down as opposed to getting hit with something. Where do you guys fall?
I like a good fall. I like a good pratfall.
See, as far as
I want to see them go all the way down, though, not like they're behind the table.
I want to see the face hit the cement.
Yeah. They don't fall for real. It's
One thing I always was animated in cartoons. I would, if it was just one person beating the crap out of another, that's not so much funny. You want the other one to get some hits back too, like Tom and Jerry.
Good comedy rule in general.
How many people wanted to see Jerry get his? I mean, I know I did.
That's terrible.
So I think with
the Roadrunner and the Coyote.
Exactly. At some point, you're just like, you want that Roadrunner to go down.
I think it's because I think that's also something that happens with age, where you're just like, that poor fucking Coyote. It's just every day, just like beaten down and beaten down and beaten down. All it wants to do is just get this Roadrunner.
Mocked and laughed.
Hope you enjoy it.
Did you know? This is funny. We always make rules. For our podcast, right? What
I make them up as we go along.
What designates a dark comedy? What are the rules, right? Well, if you talk about the Coyote, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but Chuck Jones wrote nine golden rules for a Coyote Roadrunner cartoon, and they all had to be obeyed at Warner Brothers.
Let's hear them.
Okay.
You ready for this? So, let's gotta load the whole thing. Damn it. All right, here we go. Rule number 1, the Roadrunner cannot harm the Coyote except by going beep beep, which means that he can beep him.
So he can only he can psychologically destroy him.
Yeah, he must become
taunting.
But he can't physically hurt. So basically, the opposite. The sticks and stones will break his bones, but the words will totally kill him.
Rule number 2,
and the Coyote can't talk anyway. So
he did talk later on. He
did.
It was sort of like the Gremlin and like the Gremlin and Gremlins 2 New Batch. Civilization.
Beep beep is seriously just fuck you. That's all it's saying every single time.
That fucking Roadrunner.
Well, that was like way later, right? So number 2, no outside force can harm the Coyote. Only his own ineptitude or the failure of Acme products.
Oh, hoisted by his own petard.
Very good. Captain Luke Petard.
Petard, that's right.
Rule number 3, the Coyote could not stop any time if he were not a fanatic. Repeat, a fanatic is one who redoubles his effort when he has forgotten his aim.
Wow,
look at that.
He's like really getting into the psychology of that Roadrunner. Roadrunner's an asshole.
So now, it almost implies an addiction, I would say, right?
he's addicted to the speed.
We're not being very sensitive now. Nowadays, we would be very sensitive.
Speed and cocaine were very popular during this time, so it makes sense.
You put the Coyote in a Schrodinger's box. Rule number 4, no dialogue ever except beep beep. Now, that rule was broken when that Coyote talked. And it
probably
it
after
sucked.
Chuck Jones died.
It sucked, yeah.
At least retired.
Rule number 5, the Roadrunner must stay on the road. Otherwise, logically, he would not be called a Roadrunner.
Wow.
That is a rule. That is a golden rule. Number 6, all action must be confined to the natural environment of the two characters, the Southwest American desert.
Oh, so they couldn't leave that locale.
They could never leave that locale. Rule number 7, all materials, tools, weapons, or mechanical conveniences must all be obtained from the Acme Corporation at all times.
Early product placement.
Yeah. Rule number 8, whenever possible, make gravity the Coyote's greatest enemy.
Wow.
So you really think about it, is Wile E. Coyote's greatest enemy the Roadrunner, who's always on the road?
Or himself.
Or Chuck Jones.
Or perhaps himself, or perhaps gravity.
Clearly
also,
Chuck
for
Jones.
someone whose name is Wile E., he is not very wily.
Well, He tries to be.
I mean, he seems to just screw himself up every time. If he did nothing, he'd have a better chance of catching the Roadrunner than his things.
It's probably true, which brings us to rule number 9.
Uh-oh.
The coyote is always more humiliated than harmed by his failures.
So those he's
rules.
He's cucked. He's basically cuckolded by the Roadrunner.
Wily Coyote.
But who exactly is he humiliated by, in front of?
Oh yeah,
exactly.
The audience.
Does he know
the Roadrunner gets off?
Now
on
that's some trippy psychology. That it's a Roadrunner, but also maybe he knows he's being watched and viewed and laughed at.
I think he did because he'd hold up the signs when he'd fall off the
He
cliff.
did. You're right.
And then he'd look and he just
They were self-aware.
That was it. Okay, well, that's no longer fits my definition of comedy because it's way too deep and psychological. So
we got to go back to last week's dark
like
comedy episode.
That's wacky.
Thanks, Paul.
So I think kind of as comedy started to evolve in the 70s, and I think there's a huge influence on that we'll get to. But just before that,
weed, cocaine.
Yes, yeah, actually cocaine, 100%. But one movie I'm pretty sure. I know Kevin, I believe we've talked about it. Nick and I've talked about it. I know Ryan, I'm imagining by proxy of Kevin that you have.
Safe assumption. One
of the first most absurd movies I ever saw was Kentucky Fried Movie.
Yes.
Which is half parody for one half of the movie. But the first half of the movie is essentially just vignettes of sketches.
Like the 10. We were just talking about another one of your favorite movies.
Yeah, like spoof commercials.
And I mean, I remember the first time I saw Kentucky Fried Movie probably in the early 90s. It got on my radar somehow. And I was just like, what is one of those things that I think there's a really interesting genre of comedy that's that absurdist comedy that the first time you watch it, you probably don't love it. You there's something about it that gets stuck in your brain a little bit, but you're not. I didn't watch Kentucky Fried Movie the first time. It
had a lot of walk-ons. So you had a lot of cameos. And
Donald Sutherland as the clumsy waiter.
I know you're talking like Two Girls, One Cup. At first you're repulsed, and then it's the only way you can get off.
When you see it like 5 times, it's just you want more.
Paul,
what
do you think of Two Girls, One Cup?
Oh, I couldn't watch it.
I couldn't get through it.
But I'll tell you a video I did like.
All right,
I'm gonna send you the link.
Right,
I'll send you the link later.
I'm not gonna watch that link, Paul. Sorry.
Well, I think probably, arguably, the biggest influence on early '80s comedies was National Lampoon and SNL, and SCTV to a smaller extent. But I think almost all of the big good comedies.
We didn't see it. We saw it later on after it already.
Well, I mean, just their influence on filmmaking. So you've got Animal House, you've got The Jerk, which is coming from Steve Martin's brain, who basically brought to the forefront through SNL. Animal House, Caddyshack, like those were powerful, huge movies for. And they're movies that we saw because of our parents. Like, they
still show them today. And
exactly.
You can't get away from them.
And, and Caddyshack and
Porky's.
things like that. Now, and see, so this is where, so I'm really...
I hit a nerve. You see how excited you got?
Porky's 1981 on my things list to talk about. So, I think
I thought we were doing Screwball Comedies.
Well, so...
I looked up Screwball Comedy on
Porky's didn't fall in line on that.
I think Porky's
Meatballs.
is both a screwball and a sex comedy, which is a very, very kind of a rough genre to get through on the sex comedy.
When I googled Screwball, it's like
you can say what kind of screw.
No. I want to. These are on the list because I do want to talk about it.
Did you look at what a screwball is defined as? I didn't know this until 15 minutes ago.
Nick did his homework.
I didn't do that much homework, but screwball comedy, is supposed. Some of the running themes are mistaken identity, or a character tries to keep a big secret the whole way through.
Okay.
And that there's normally a emphasis on the classes.
Sure.
And a lot of them that are listed are
I'd argue everything I just mentioned falls into that.
Well, yeah. Also, it happened during the Great Depression, right? Originating in the early 1930s. So these are the movies that I see come up. It happened one night. No, Ski Patrol.
It should be. That's a screwball comedy, man.
Ski School.
That caused the Great Depression.
Ski School. They're saying Midsummer's Night Dream.
Oof.
Oh my God, it's really weird. Our happened one night. My Man Godfrey.
My Man Godfrey. What the hell is that? Does anyone here in this room know my man Godfrey?
I'm sorry. I'm
I know
sitting
it's
in
probably
Ben's.
black and white.
I'm sitting in Ben's chair.
Yeah.
Somewhere Ben Wilson just got a little hard. He doesn't know why.
I know. I want to talk about obscure things. I can't help myself. What's happening, man? I'm scared.
I didn't.
But you know what fits that mold, though?
They don't even show those on AMC anymore.
No, they don't. Ruthless People. Ruthless People.
Oh, one of my favorites. Yes. Well,
it is literally pitting the two classes against each other. But it's a mistaken identity, and it's a screwball. It is a modern day.
Yes.
Well, would that be Down Out in Beverly Hills?
Yes,
as well?
that's another.
Oh, good one.
So So what's interesting is by the screwball comedy rules, almost every '80s comedy was a screwball comedy. Gremlins, screwball comedy. You've got the rich old bank woman that's looking down on the poor guy that's got his thing, and they're going to lose the house.
Why are they called screwball?
And you've got Animal House, which is the rich preppy jocks versus the ragtag ones. Everything, I think, all comedy in the '80s was about arguments between two different classes, and we were always on the side of the misfits. It was always you Bluto Bartowski in any other movie is a fucking villain. Like, that's the guy. Like, fuck, that guy's gonna ruin everything. Don't be friends with that guy.
Ben just sent me a picture of a double seesaw American ale brewed with raspberry. He's got some for you, Nick.
Double seesaw.
That
Sounds like a sex move for sure.
It sure does.
He wants to get you in a double seesaw.
An adult seesaw. You got to go in the back of the store for that. It's next to the swing. You can make a whole adult playground.
So I think you've got screwball comedy, and you've got.
I thought screwball comedy was just like a madcap, like a
sure.
No, that's
right?
That's what you would think.
But it's not really that though.
Well, it's the same. Well, the same as slapstick is similar, but slapstick tends to be a little bit more violently. Appropriated.
And I think if all the Mel Brooks movies, pretty much could. I mean, can we talk about this?
Well, so Mel Brooks.
We made a rule, all right? There's no Mel Brooks in this podcast. You signed. I did
look at that.
Well, I think Screwball. What's interesting is there was.
I read the first sentence and I read the last sentence and I signed it.
No Mel Brooks in the studio.
There is a movie called Screwballs that is a sex comedy.
Yeah, that wasn't just because of Spaceballs.
Right. Okay, there is a movie
That's
called
not a screwball comedy, though, according to Wikipedia.
So
that is a madcap jaunt.
That is a subgenre.
The reason I didn't want to
You're working in the subgenre.
So I didn't want to. I didn't want anyone to not talk about something they want to talk about. I wanted to get this discussion a little bit to say. For me, I think there are certain comedies that fall into a category where it's just there are no stakes. There is very little emotion. There's very little other than it is almost a nonstop barrage of joke.
Sophie's Choice.
Sophie's Choice, a real good one. But I think National Lampoon's and SNL. I think if you have an SNL,
you see the deleted scenes to Sophie's Choice.
You got to get the Blu-ray.
Yeah, you got to ask Matt if we'll let you come over and watch them.
And Chuck Jones had some rules for Sophie's Choice too that you were not allowed to do.
Wow.
Chuck Jones had a rule for everything.
You haven't seen Sophie's Choice, the director's cut?
First of all, Sophie must have a choice that she has to make by the end of the picture.
Let's just say it wasn't her first choice.
And you got to stay for the credits because then they tease Captain Marvel at the very end. Right.
So yeah, I think I think when you think of any SNL cast member who's leading a movie through the 80s and 90s, that's kind of in the just a comedy thing. You're looking at Fletch, Corky Romano, Joe Dirt, any of the Sandler.
I have to go back and watch that again. I haven't seen that.
Sandler, Farley, all those ones. So I think now we've kind of established that this is comedy is a broad fucking category, but we want to just focus on movies that are pure laughs. And even though we have done done parodies before, absolutely, if you want to talk about a parody movie, talk about a parody.
Now,
movie.
when you say
pure
it's
laughs,
all
light. There's no serious moment.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so where I would argue, there's only one Mel Brooks movie I would argue is off the table as far as these new rules, and that's Blazing Saddles, which I think is so satire and social commentary that I don't think it falls into the just laugh. There's no...
And so it has been decided.
Thus.
I mean, I have my French foreign poster of Blazing Saddles up there. The sheriff
is in prison.
That is right. That is right.
That's one of Matt's favorite movies, and he Can put it on a pedestal if he wants, because he's pressing buttons, okay? Kevin, so why don't you sit down? And Ryan, stop giving him eyes over there. He runs the show. He runs the goddamn show, okay?
What is going on
Don't
here?
tell him what
None
to
of
do.
this is happening.
It's okay.
Okay.
We're here just to serve your narrative.
Okay, all right. So everyone calm down here. So,
Okay, we're good.
So, Nick, tell me about one of your favorite comedies. Something that just makes you laugh.
A Goofy movie?
Really? We're going to go through a Goofy movie?
You put me on the spot. I'm sorry.
like the Goofy movie,
You're at the
not
pantheon of all movies we've
perfect
just...
chaos.
Come on,
Oh,
man.
that's a different generation speaking. Right there.
I bought the Powerline shirt at Target. I'm a fan. I'm not just.
Well, if
blowing
you want to
smoke
waste
up your
your
ass.
turn on Goofy movie,
All
go
right.
right for it.
All right. We'll go. I do.
I didn't even think we were gonna get
Right,
a
we're
pick
gonna-
a favorite movie. I'm not prepared.
It's not a favorite. It's
Somebody
not.
skip me.
Is there a comedy movie you'd like to
I
discuss?
just want to say, like, I genuinely do really like a Goofy movie. I think it has some very funny moments.
I think it's
I
kind of
didn't
goofy.
see it. I was
did
aware
not
of
see
it.
it
But
either. Which I guess goes without saying, right?
We should all watch it. Is what I'm saying.
that and Corky Romano.
and then we'll watch Paul Lynde's Christmas special. Very end.
I would gladly watch both specials.
Is there a movie you'd like to dive into a little bit to talk about that's a comedy that on your Screwball comedy
Well,
list?
I like seeing when I think of Screwball comedy. What my old definition was what you said, just laughs.
Yeah.
It may have a good. It may end up having a good plot and good characters, but they made it just to barrage you, like you said.
Yeah.
And if I gotta think, I used to really. I've talked about UHF so many times. I can never go back to that well, but that's my number one as a kid.
It's a great fucking movie.
It's number one, and it just was written as a vehicle for Al to machine gun a bunch of jokes right after one another. You know?
And he's in full. Yeah, and it's another one. I mean, you could argue there's a little bit of heart in there, and there's a plot, but it's all secondary to the fact that you're really just watching somebody go through every iteration of joke, like for sometimes no reason, just like this is funny, this is going to make somebody laugh.
I'm trying to think of like the old like sleepover parties where your one friend would like get the one movie you could never get, like the one or movie you'd watch a comic. I'm trying to think of like what I used to watch for my friends, and I'm blanking.
Let's get over to that for a second. But I mean, do you guys have any like perennial, like any comedies you guys were really hot on when you were kids that you kind of remember watching over and over again?
I think as a kid, definitely Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yes.
It was one of those movies where you knew every
we could do the dialogue.
Well
We'd
done.
literally.
Well
we-
done.
we
Nick,
would go
Nick
through
chose
back and
Goof movie over Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Yes, tell us more about that movie.
Well, we would literally just go. We could go through
I
the
love
whole
them
movie.
both. I can't choose between them. It's a real Sophie's choice.
Just as
It's
long
a
as
real
you-
Sophie's
Which
choice.
one? Which
Oh,
director's
damn.
cut?
Hey, I like Goofy movie songs, but
I'm sorry, Ryan. Continue.
Oh no! I was just saying that no, Pee-wee. It was just one of those movies where we could literally go back and forth doing the whole dialogue
Sure.
for the whole movie.
Well, that had some emotional moments.
That's true.
I'm a loner, Dottie, a rebel.
I'd say that Goof Troop is more emotional than Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Like Pee-wee
Goof
never felt
Troop is
emotional to me.
You couldn't take
Goof
Pee Wee
Troop-
Herman seriously in any respect. So.
Goof Troop is the show. A Goofy movie is the movie. You charlatan.
Somebody didn't do their homework.
I never in a million years thought we were going to discuss Goofy movie, but
Okay, listen. You're right. It has way too much heart to be.
That's
just
not on the
for
list,
laughs.
Nicky. You got to
No,
stick to the list.
and I think that's kind of interesting to
You
to
said as
think
a
about.
kid. I'm the first thing that came out. I'm sorry.
It's my child. Yeah,
you can't take it back now.
when
control-
Zool comes and we get a giant fucking Goofy attacking us or a giant Pete, we're in real trouble. But Kevin, what about you?
That
You know,
Roxanne can
like
get
I
Gadget
said-
a hack and wrench and run for her money. That's all I gotta say.
Like, I hate to say, I mean, I keep coming to almost to like Spaceballs in a way, just maybe because
Sure.
you brought that up.
Sure.
And I just
Kevin,
think about
we talked
the
about
whole
this.
point where they
he
where
has
they
to
capture
bring
their
both.
stunt doubles, and it's just like because it's visual. It's not. It's almost like it's sort of non sequitur, but it has plays off of so many different elements.
Singed my hair.
Yeah, it breaks the fourth wall.
Yes.
It kind of in any way it's that it you just can't it's funny and you can't just take it seriously.
And I think that's a good rule. So Wikipedia's definition of screwball is a little bit too clinical for my taste.
My man Godfrey.
I think you hit upon. So we're gonna
there's a class war between the sons.
Yeah, let's make our own rules. We've already said that there are no stakes. We think that everything's going to turn out okay at the end. No one's going to ever lose at the end of one of these ones.
And if they do, it's okay. It doesn't matter anyway. There's no.
Well, and I think you hit another one, which rule is that there are no rules in a screwball comedy. There does not have to. Nothing has to make sense or be realistic in any way, shape, or form. It has to maybe keep in the universe a little bit, but I mean, UHF is a great example that there's an alien at the end of the movie out of nowhere, and Spaceballs has stunt doubles which don't exist. They're making a movie inside a movie. He looks at a VHS type of the movie tape of the movie he's in.
That was
I
more
think
obvious.
This is where I think you're hitting on a lot of those things.
You know what the Renaissance,
which wasn't done. It's completely original. And,
No, the Muppet movie did that when they used the
the
script.
Muppet movie.
They found them. They used
I
the
almost
script.
went Muppet.
That's really good.
That's a good kid. I mean, a little
Caper,
bit adult
Madcap humor.
but kid friendly.
Well, and Muppets are great because Muppets can have that physical, that angry comedy on there. Now, I'm curious what you guys. So this was a movie in my research that showed up, and I'm like, fuck, I think it does fit the
comedy?
mold. It fits the mold as a screwball comedy.
No stakes.
Huh.
No, and it is very well. The stakes is the tricky part.
Wikipedia screwball or our screwball?
Our screwball.
Okay.
But this is a tricky one, and this harkens 100% back to the Stooges, which is Home Alone, which I think is a screwball comedy.
Sure.
Because if it's not a screwball comedy, it's a horror movie. I think it's one of those that if it falls into any other category, it's child services where a kid tries to murder two men in ways that should kill them but doesn't.
But see, I go back to the Coyote thing. I'm part of that audience that really wants to see them get a crack at it on Kevin.
Oh my god,
is that wrong? I don't know.
Kevin, do you have?
And maybe it's because of the name Kevin. I don't know.
There's some deep-seated. Oh my god!
Wow, that was
I'm right here. I'm right here, buddy. You want to take a shot?
I should have been here for the dark comedy episode.
Right here.
Ryan is the bad seed. He's the bad son.
So my next Madcap comedy is Damien.
Which could also be a screwball comedy.
That's a movie I can get behind.
Wow, that went real dark on that one.
Wow.
Nick, do you have something maybe that falls more into? Do you have a rule that you want to add that applies to this movie as well?
Man, it's so funny that there's such a clear grasp on what I'm trying to define, and I can't, for the life of me, remember that fallback movie because there were so many. I remember you latching on to one thing as a kid and watching it over and over and over again.
It's way too hard to think about, especially when you're.
I mean, any of the Zucker movies, Basketball.
Sure.
Airplane, some genre. Going Airplane. Is that too high on your pedestal? Can we include
which one?
Airplane?
No. It's what Airplane's a parody.
As our listeners should know.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
No, but I don't want to discount that movie at all. I mean, it's a classic from the childhood. But so I'm wearing
Naked Gun.
There is an Airport movie. Most people don't know that Airport was a movie that was
exactly,
and that was about the same thing.
So I'm wearing an El Guapo
Naked
shirt.
Gun is a spoof too, then. So that
Naked Gun's
100%
spoof. Any of the Zucker are parodies. They're spoofs. But
Basketball can count though.
Basketball's a spoof.
Of what?
It's a spoof of sports movies.
No, Basketball is a spoof of a sport, and then they made a movie about it.
Ooh, okay. I'll take those.
Well, you kind of sport like the natural,
screwball
the natural.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
It's a screw baseball comedy. Nice. I like that.
Son of a bitch.
I like it. Okay, you see, you got there.
But if you think about the Renaissance,
that's pretty punny.
The screwball comedy, right? In the '90s, you had and I guess a lot of these are spoofs, or even you go Road Trip is a road trip movie, but it's not high stakes. We've talked about Overnight Delivery. We've talked about
no. So and again, that's another one. Like Road Trip is its own subgenre of wacky comedies too. It's tricky. It's really tricky to find ones that just exist on their own. So one of the ones
scary movies, but then again, that's an obvious parody.
So Kevin had hosted a Cinco de Mayo party at his house a couple years ago. We watched the Three Amigos. Three Amigos was one of those. It was an interesting movie for me as a kid because it was the first time I saw the previews for it, and I knew I wanted to go. And I think a good definition of screwball comedy when you're a kid is something your parents absolutely do not want to watch.
Exactly.
They have no interest in fucking seeing it.
They're gonna leave the room, and they.
Well, I mean, they just like, and I could tell. Like, I saw the previews, and I go, I understand this is a dumb comedy. Like I knew I was old enough to recognize
my parents
it at
loved
that
Three
time.
Amigos, though, by the way.
That's
nothing was too dumb for
well,
them.
my dad loved terrible movies, so that's why he probably didn't like. He loved McHale's Navy.
The My Buttercup scene, that was like,
But I think it's
everybody
really
was on board.
And my friend's dad was like the dad I wanted from the movie standpoint because he loved Animal House and Three Amigos and all that stuff. But there were these movies that I knew going to watch Three Amigos. This is not a good movie. Like this is not an Oscar movie. This is not a thing. It is a silly, just jokey, goofy movie that I'm gonna go watch.
Goofy movie?
No, not the Goofy movie.
Oh, can we go back to the Goofy movie?
But I like that movie. That movie is another one that's just full of non sequitur, ridiculous, stupid. Like
You could kiss me on the veranda.
Lips would be fine.
and I remember my favorite scene as a kid was definitely
Have got it.
which is Martin Short just delivering, and I also love what's interesting in the movie is that there's very little actual chemistry between your three leads. You can kind of tell that maybe they didn't get along. Each one of them is literally out for their selves, other than Short and
Short,
Martin.
I think
a
Martin
little bit.
Short, yeah,
but
definitely.
Chevy Chase is not in the group on that one.
No,
But Chevy Chase was like, and he was a king of a lot of those movies back then. You've got Vacation, you've got Spies Like Us. Fletch. I mean, he had a run,
lives.
and I think every generation kind of gets that run with an SNL star, whether it's
Heavenly Dog.
It's the second time you brought that up very recently.
Nothing But Trouble.
Amazing. Nothing But Trouble. Nothing But Trouble. I think is the closest to a truly. Oh, let's bring a new term in instead of screwball or slapstick. How about we call it a madcap comedy?
That's what I just Googled, and
Yeah.
I got. There's something about Mary.
Yeah, that's it. I say that.
cool.
Mr. Bean.
Yes, yes, yes.
I feel like Madcap, does that imply action as well? Is that like an
I
action
think it's
comedy?
just it's all over the place. It's something that's got to be
Ace
just,
Ventura.
yeah.
Right?
Oh, Ace Ventura. I have
Super
of course had-
Troopers, perhaps.
Alrighty then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I prepared a few of these.
Tommy Boy.
Yep. All the SNL movies. So Madcap is maybe the best
I guess.
word
Mouse
to go.
Hunt, starring Nathan Lane.
And the guy from Something About Mary, the British comedian, Lee Evans. He was really funny in that flick.
Down on the farm. Hot Shots.
Yeah.
That's his parody, I guess.
Yep. But it's interesting. So I mean,
Grumpy Old Men.
What is one movie, Nick, one comedy that kind of fits now into this newly defined madcap category that you have seen more times than you can count and you can quote every single moment from it?
I mean, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I'm with you guys. I mean, I
Maybe
wrote
you should have
Pee-wee
talked
Herman a
about
fan
that before
letter.
someone else did.
Well, you were gonna make fun of me for Goofy movie. Can we just talk about Goofy movie? Can
What
we just
year?
get it out there?
Can I ask what year did that movie come out?
Goofy movie?
Yeah.
93, 94?
Did you see Goofy movie?
No, we didn't. But that's why I'm. Kevin, you didn't see it either.
We were too old for it.
We were
It's
too old.
surprisingly
Yeah.
good.
for it.
It's
I guess
surprisingly
that's
good.
14, so that's,
I've seen it, but we were too old for it.
Yeah, at 14,
Okay, well,
I watched a lot of
I just
Goof
found out
Troop,
I was
though.
a twin. It was a big deal.
wait, so when you
You
look
can
at
do Pee-wee's.
no, but hold on a second though. I'll answer your original question,
Sure.
which is what is the modern day answer, right? And a lot of the television shows are reality shows now. In the same vein, you got Knoxville dressing up like the old man for
Sure.
old bad grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That's just a hidden camera show.
Yeah, because there's really
Yeah.
no story to it.
made
other
into
than...
they loosely weaved in
Action Point's the first time they tried to actually tie it into a story,
Yeah.
which I really want to see that, actually.
I really didn't like it.
Oh, you saw it?
It made me upset because it crossed a line for me that I actually
Oh.
have, which is like I love the Carbonaro effect, where the magician does a hidden camera reality show and kind of makes people look pretty stupid. I'm okay with that, but he did some things where he was like a convincing old man, pretending he was in cardiac arrest in a park. And like stuff kind of bugged me that people really thought that he was that bad of a guardian or actually dying. It's kind of like not funny to me. I like it when people are like the butt of a joke or they look stupid, but not like when they're just fearing for another human being's life and being made fun of it for, like showing
that's not cool,
compassion and concern. The kid's getting abused or in a bad situation.
You care about people, jackass.
Part of the jackass. Is exactly right.
That was when they did the baby seat. They put the baby seat on top of the car with the baby doll in it.
I'm okay
and
with
then
that.
They drove away with it.
I'm okay with that. It's a very blurry line.
Was okay.
But if it was scripted and they were actors generally reacting, you'd be okay with it, right?
Well, the baby never fell off.
Yeah, because there's no
car,
one being hurt in that. There are other people that are being.
Well, we assume that they're putting on this front that the people really do know, or that people don't know he's an old man and having a heart attack. But what I surmise is maybe they do.
That's true.
Oh, you're calling plants on this.
I just assume everything's a little.
Well, Johnny Knoxville, ball's in your court. Why don't you let us know, real or not real? Get back to us at Last Pint Productions.
The New Way at gmail.com. Do we have a show email yet?
That doesn't. We have Matt at lastpintprod.com and info.
I just said it online. You gotta register.
Well, I'm going to edit that one out, so it's just me randomly going. gmail.com.
It'll be another Three Amigos quote.
One of our rare edits.
It's a mail plan.
It's funny. The thing that's killing me about this episode is sometimes you prepare for a podcast, right, for hours or even a week in advance, and you come with these points and you're fully fully loaded.
Okay, no, stop.
Does it count?
No, go back to where you were.
Back to my original thought. I think Herbie counts.
Madcap, maybe Madcap.
Take that one back. You take that one back right now.
With Lindsay Lohan. Yes, I said it. But it's funny, and then some of them are just so in your wheelhouse that you don't have to prep for it, and you could talk about Pee-wee's Big Adventure for an hour, right? This, on paper, should have been something that I could have just waltzed through. But now that we're talking about just madcap comedies that don't really have a big plot or whatever, and just funny things happen that you watched a million times as a kid, I can't think of anything.
Did you ever watch Weekend at Bernie's?
No.
No? Really?
I made the jokes.
Did you see Weekend at Bernie's too?
First of all, no more making jokes about movies. You've made
movie.
Weekend at Bernie's jokes and Ishtar jokes constantly in this show, and you've not watched the movies. Nick, we're going to put you in jail. We're going to have to. You're forced to watch both Weekend at Bernie's 1 and 2 with Ishtar in between. And I hope you like it.
If you watch both Bernie
it.
movies, you'll be praying for Ishtar.
There'll be no windows. There'll be no doors. There'll be no
a Bernie sandwich with Ishtar
just
meat.
a fucking bucket to just shit in if you need to, and that's it.
Listen,
that's all you get.
I figure things out. I made jokes with those movies and never managed to see them.
Well, I think, so I kind of looked at these also as far as there are a lot of directors that are known for kind of these types of comedies. John Landis, Harold Ramis,
Farrelly Brothers.
Anything produced by Lorne Michaels, Ivan Reitman. Although Reitman straddles the line, I don't think Ghostbusters is a madcap comedy. I think it's a little genre mashup on there. But Todd Phillips is one. You brought up Road Trip. I think Todd Phillips and Adam McKay, who did Anchorman. Anchorman is a movie with zero stakes, no rules, that is all about just fucking joke, but it's absurdist humor it's one of those, it's like that one's a pretty broad one, but I would say if you look at something like Step Brothers is a little bit darker, where you're like, I didn't love Step Brothers the first time I saw it. It was one of those that I had to watch it multiple times before I'm like, okay, I'm really getting the fucking makes no sense vibe.
Whereas I got one for you. The Hangover is just one set piece after another for a laugh.
But what's interesting with The Hangover is that it's a mystery,
and it does play off of every single event.
Oh yeah.
So you could piece it all together in sequential order, right?
Well, and that's
just big comedy set pieces, though. It's just like
sure. It doesn't.
Ken Jeong in his underwear, and then you cut quick to a tiger. Then you get Mike Tyson. Then you cut back to them on cocaine or whatever. It's just it's a constant barrage of jokes.
I know. I agree with that one, and I think it's interesting. I think maybe where sometimes it's hard for us to come up with some of these is a lot of the movies when we were kids weren't madcap comedies. Goonies is not a madcap comedy. It's a coming of age show. Back to the Future is a high Inner Space, right? Inner Space should be madcap, but Inner Space is more of is a high concept comedy, right? I don't think it fit. I think there's too much going on there that
it's like a sci-fi comedy, I'd say, because you definitely get a backstory and.
So I think that's kind of interesting with that, and you look at kind of that evolution of those movies, and what's also really interesting to watch over the decades is when are R-rated comedies in and when are they out?
Wedding Crashers
was it? So R-rated comedies died in the 90s, mainly because of Robin Williams and Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey and Robin Williams made PG-13 comedies, and you have Sandler, and you have Spade, you have Farley.
Get the kids to see
these guys. These guys all were doing juvenile humor, but never pushing the boundary. And we look back at the days of Police Academy and Porky's. Those were R-rated, fucking crazy, dirty comedies. Animal House, even. And it wasn't.
Bachelor Party.
Well, I think the one
like Caddyshack, you had to have nudity. Golf movie.
And
somebody's going to be naked in it.
There's someone's top is coming off.
That's another one of Chuck Jones's rules about golf movies.
It was, and you could not be humiliated by it.
Yes,
must have titties.
The rule. The rule is this: titties and man ass. Titties and man ass were always. You look at Bachelor Party. That's a Madcap comedy. Titties and man ass. You have to have both. Almost all of them had both, which is kind of interesting on there. But I think the R-rated comedy came back real hard.
You're also describing Game of Thrones.
This is they do dong. They're much more dong on that one.
That's fair.
It's a lot of dong. But I think there's something about Mary was one of the first commercially successful bring back R-rated comedy, which made the way for American Pie, which is the first time we had a teen sex comedy. Since
even Dumb and Dumber, I think too. Even though that was PG-13,
sure.
it could have been easily R. All they had to
they
do
only
was,
have a little bit of woman bum in that one, so it doesn't fit.
All
they get it dropped an F-bomb, and then there you go. It's
all they had to say was fuck.
Well, going back to the 80s, though,
I'll tell you exactly where they should have set it up.
Well, going back to the 80s, I think a big part of that too was for the first part, you didn't have the PG-13 rating. It wasn't only till after Temple of Doom and movies like that. So comedies either had to be kid-friendly or adult. There wasn't a lot of in-between room.
Sure.
So I think that's a big part of why in the 90s you were able to see that.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, and they still worry about it now, about the box office, what it's going to be PG-13 versus R. And I always love the anecdote that Kevin Smith made Mallrats in 1995. They thought it was going to be huge. It tested so well, and it bombed. And he was like, the studio just kept giving him all these notes, like, no one wants to see an R-rated comedy, no one wants to see how they say all this stuff. And it was literally he was just like 3 years too early.
I can't see Mallrats being PG-13.
If Mallrats came out in 98 or 99, like, imagine Mallrats comes out when American Pie came out, right before, a week before American Pie comes out.
Really?
Mallrats, no, I'm saying, imagine if it comes out 3 years later. That movie is huge. I think that movie hits all those same beats that those, but people weren't going to R-rated comedies in the mid-90s.
Mallrats served its purpose. a young Adam Storch, a high school friend of mine, saw that film, and eventually, true story, stink-palmed Gallagher.
Wow.
That really happened.
The Gallagher? Gallagher?
We don't know if it was his
or
brother.
The brother,
Speaking of a mistaken identity and brothers, but no, he did. We it's kind of embarrassing. Senior week, we weren't at parties or sneaking beers to the beach. We went to see Gallagher at the convention center in Ocean City, Maryland, and we paid extra to be in the splash zone. And he was it was just like a set of like unfunny racist jokes for like 30 minutes. And the second he made a Jew joke about the line of watermelons, being like, he's like, are all the Jewish people out there? Don't confuse this for a buffet line. We need this for the finale.
Jesus.
The second he said that joke, Adam slowly, without breaking eye contact with Gallagher on the stage, slowly slipped his hand back in and let it marinate just like the movie for about 20 minutes before then he then forced his way on stage with a 7-year-old's birthday party and stole a long handshake with Gallagher. Thank you, Kevin Smith.
There we go, Adam. Sure. Well done, Adam.
Adam Storch, the legend of Adam Storch.
Do you have any other, like, I mean, I think I remember one of the ones, like, I felt a lot of the Madcap comedies were also very quotable. That they were movies that were like filled with so many one-liners, you were bound to pick up 2 or 3 when you're watching. And I know one of my, we
were the first, one of the first generation that could hit rewind, and
exactly,
it was on VCR. I'm surprised our VCRs lasted as long as they did.
And we went through ours pretty hardcore, but I also spilled a lot of things on them because I'm a terrible child. Do you have a quote? What's your most your favorite quotable childhood or adult movie for that matter? I mean, not like adult movie. I don't hope you don't quote like Debbie Does Dallas, probably verbatim. I know Nick quotes those lemon stealing whores constantly, but
that is very quotable.
I found out that
you have to see that clip.
I found out that the lemon stealing whore died.
Oh no!
The actual
dark
actors?
postscript.
I know.
Well, that was a Madcap comedy before that.
It's really upsetting.
Well, now it has stakes. Now it's not funny anymore.
That made me think that because I was thinking, Aretha Franklin died.
Oh no! Wow, we're gonna
sorry if you just found this one out, but no, it made me think of Blues Brothers. Sorry, Blues Brothers. That popped in my mind, and that was a favorite. I mean, that had comedy. That had a lot. Music.
Sure.
I was thinking
technically, I mean, I would say it's a musical comedy.
It's kind of Madcap-y.
Oh yeah, I'd say definitely Madcap.
I find that's that can be a, that was a movie as a kid that I remember the quotes and everything, and you just 4 fried chickens and a Coke, and we both kinds, country toast. And Western, and just things like that. Yeah, so that just popped in my mind.
Well, it totally fits. It fits that idea that you've got a car chase through a mall. Yeah. Like these aren't real. These aren't real things.
They were on a mission from God.
We're never worried.
I
that
say
Jake and Elwood are going to die.
That's Madcap.
Yeah, that's Madcap. You never worry that Jake and Elwood are going to get in a car accident during that movie.
It's a mad.
They saved orphanage, but if they didn't, it would have been all right.
Probably my favorite, and technically, if you wanted to go subgenre, it is a farce, but is Clue, which ends with this most amazing line:
"I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife."
My favorite last line of any movie ever.
That was a movie it was one of those that I recognized immediately as a kid. Like this is me. Like this is my thing. I need to know everything about this. I have the entire movie memorized, every single fucking part of it.
I think I was just too young when, I know we saw Clue, but I'm too young to really appreciate.
Really?
A lot of the humor and. It wasn't juvenile enough for me.
Colleen Camp.
Lord almighty. I bet. Me too. I drink the cognac.
No.
And if you don't know who she is, you should go also watch Smokey and the Bandit 3 if you can get a copy of that.
Or Election.
So Walmart Ben.
No,
she's Tracy Flick's mom in Election too.
Well, and I think you hit on something that would be a really good follow-up podcast, which is comedies that you look at a very different way as an adult than you did when you were a kid.
That's good.
And what's really great about a lot of Madcap comedies is
because there is a different. It is sometimes a different movie.
No. What's interesting is that there are movies you
if you go back and watch the Goofy movie now, I mean, come on.
How dare you? Yeah, I watched it last night.
I mean, Pete is definitely he's a pedophile in that movie. You know that, right? He's he's from Philadelphia. He's
in the Goofy movie.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of subtext there that you don't remember. Yeah, it's true. Just kidding.
That's not true.
It's not true.
How dare you?
It's impossible.
That's not true.
The Goof Troop is
That's not true. That's impossible.
Goof Troop is the show.
I used to work at Sandusky.
I didn't say he was a pedophile.
Soylent Green is people, everybody.
No, I think it's interesting to look at that so many jokes that go over your head with especially with the Madcap comedy as a kid that you don't like. I remember not understanding the condom joke in Naked Gun. Famously not understanding the giant condom joke in that. Which when I asked a lot of people about the condom joke, and they were like, "Yeah, we can't talk about that because you're a kid," you know. But they were like, so that's
but only because Matt didn't like to use condoms. He was too cool for that.
Listen, baby, I'm in 4th grade. All right, I only go raw dog.
I almost made a raw dog joke, and I said, "You know what? I'm going to hold back."
I've been
studying. Sure enough.
My nickname in 5th grade was the Bareback Rider.
I've been reading Paul Mamolino's new book, Raw Dog or Nothing, and then
Raw Dog and Glory.
But by the way, I don't think
you're
Paul
the man now, Raw Dog.
You're the Raw Dog.
You're the man now, dog.
All right, so we are. I think we're at our end here. I'm going to do round table once around each person, and if you can think of it, Nick, what is a joke in a movie that you saw as a kid that you didn't get, but now as an adult, that you had a realization, oh my God, I can't believe that joke was about this.
Well, I know what you're going for. It's not quite that, but to go along with Ryan's answer, I never got the Pee Wee Herman, "Why don't you make me?" because I don't make monkeys. I just train them.
Wow.
It was just kind of wordy, and I never really got it, and then I realized...
As a kid or now, it's better
as an adult, it's like, okay. He's implying that he... In that madhouse, he trains monkeys, and that's a believable thing for Pee-wee to do. So, no, he didn't make the monkeys, he just trains them. And then it got me thinking, maybe that's what Pee-wee did for a living. He has to work, right?
Yeah.
He has a house.
That bike didn't pay for itself.
That sick bike did not pay for itself.
And the kitchen, his kitchen, and all the
Mr. T cereal, lifestyle, the breakfast machine. Maybe he was like a high-end monkey trainer for the movies, and that was his actual job. And that throwaway line was actually a glimpse into the real character, the little backstory.
You gotta think too. He had that whole breakfast, and he ate like 2 bites of cereal, and that was it.
That was it.
And I guess the monkeys got the rest. That was for the monkeys.
Wow.
He pitied the
Speck,
monkeys.
or Speck the dog. I don't know.
You know, I'm surprised he never had like a chimpanzee sidekick.
Yeah,
Going back to
he had the pig, the talking pig in the sequel, though.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
you're
Don't forget the talking
What's the pig's name?
Big Top Pee-wee. Vance.
Vance?
Vance.
Vance.
I think it's Vince or Vance, right?
It's Vance, yeah.
Whoa, wow.
Shit,
With
nice
authority,
one.
Vance.
Nice.
Well,
Ryan.
it was on Netflix, so.
We're gonna have a Pee-wee conversation. Not
Seen
just,
it in the near future, close past it.
Do you guys have one that's that you can think of off the top of your head? I know that's putting you on the spot.
I mean, I can think of Saturday Night Live skits.
Sure.
Like, because they reran it in the 80s under the best of Saturday Night Live.
Sure,
on
sure.
Nick at Night.
Yeah.
So you saw, it was all in the sketches, and of course there's lots of appealing stuff for the kids, you know, when they do characters. But there were, you know, jokes about, like, STDs and things. I do remember some guy talking, Bill Murray character talking about how, you know, burning and he was urinating and not getting that. So that's definitely an example.
Do you have one, Kevin?
Urinating. That's what we have to look forward to.
Yeah.
It's hard to follow that one up.
It's an adult thing.
Yeah, look forward to it. Not happening now. Yeah, totally okay with that.
I'm trying to think.
I mean, I did not understand the thing in Beetlejuice with the whorehouse. I thought it was really funny. I didn't quite understand that he built a whorehouse on the model. I just was like, oh, there's this weird house that the
nice
Alec Baldwin made. Yeah.
But you got the fact that it was like a lady's house or something, like he got that.
I didn't really think about. I didn't really think about it.
Surely you weren't
think I go
that
that far.
stupid, Matt.
No, I don't think my brain went that far. I was just like, oh no, there's this like place where these people are. It's like a nightclub. That was like a nightclub.
Oh, well, that's what I meant. Like a
I did not put together that there were only women at the night. There's a really famous one of these in Aladdin, by the way.
Oh, I just want to bring that up. Actually.
Yeah. That he goes through. We blame parents, but he hasn't got them in his like one jump ahead.
Gotta eat to live.
And there's a whole thing where he goes into like a harem, like basically the courtesans, and they don't want any part of him. And I didn't understand why they keep ushering him out. And it's because he has no money, he can't pay for their services. But that's in a kids movie.
Also,
that
because he's 15 years old.
They don't care about that. He got gold. The age don't matter. This is Agrabah, my friend. When has age ever stopped a Disney movie from being creepy? I mean, look at Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. There's some weird age things going on in that movie, let me tell you.
And popped in my head too.
Another podcast.
Howard the Duck, and I hate to harp on that too long.
No. Please, let's do it.
But to go back and watch
Lucas
Howard the Duck.
Is so happy with this podcast. They talked about it again.
He's got a clicker. It clicks number 3.
That's my George Lucas impersonation.
Not even Marvel or Seth Green talk about Howard the Duck.
No.
It was, though, kind of one of those movies.
That did have like kind of. I mean, the whole thing with them in the bed and like.
I did not.
Or the condom when the feather that's a condom. It's like, what is that? It's like, is that a coin or something? Like,
I didn't get that either, and I did not get that it was an erection joke when his feathers plume up.
I got it. I got it. The most notorious condom joke I never got as a kid. Wayne's World. Ribbed for her pleasure. Ew.
I think at that point I finally knew about condoms.
You knew about ribbed condoms?
I think I figured it out.
No, did you?
No.
Did you?
This balloon's all slick.
So we had a...
No, Matt sees Wayne's World for the first time. He goes, Mom, can you drop me off at CVS? And he goes, I'll have one that's ribbed for her pleasure.
I'll have you know, I waited till we were on road trips and I could buy them at the vending machines because I was fascinated by them and wanted to know how they worked.
Why don't those still exist?
They still exist. But
you've seen them?
Oh yeah.
Where?
Well, the first time I ever
a condom machine,
saw
like a bar bathroom.
Oh yeah.
It still exists
at like gas stations when you're going across country. They sure do.
It's like a payphone.
You just needed a quarter, sometimes a dime, depending on where you stop.
I would always pack up a quarter so I could buy my souvenir for the road trip. But what's interesting. So the first time probably most of my friends group growing up ever saw a condom, someone brought a condom on a school trip to the Keys. We went to this trip to the Keys, and of course we did what any young 6th grader would do. We filled it with whipped cream and threw it over into the girls' bathroom because we thought it was funny. So our science teacher, Mr. Sanders, comes into like we're like in this like bunk area. All of us are in like bunk beds. We're staying at this Jules Under the Sea, and he walks in with this blown up condom that's filled with whipped cream that's like inflated.
That didn't pop.
He goes, guys, hey, what's going on? What is it? He goes, you even got the tickle tip. And he says tickle tip, and all of us went, oh, there's a tickle tip? And like, it's the reservoir. I know as an adult. But he literally had all of us like, oh, now we know about the tickle tip. Once we got to rib for her pleasure, we were well informed at that point.
He didn't make you all go around and touch it, did he?
We shoved it in each of our mouths, and then there were three boys that got special treatment.
They started sex ed a little early that semester.
Wow.
Well, I think now that's our second pedophile joke of the podcast, we probably should be calling it a night.
It's our second? Oh.
Well,
we can get a third one in there.
Listen, the New Way is a Madcap podcast. You never know what's going to go when there are no consequences. Sure, let's stick to that one. We thank you guys so much for listening. Thank our guests, Kevin and Ryan, for coming in.
Great to be here. It was a pleasure
to have you guys in.
I had a fabulous time.
And Paul,
I want to hear more pedophile jokes.
This is the less flamboyant Paul than the one that will be on the podcast next week.
Let me tell you a story about the time I went to Clearwater.
Oh, Paul, we've heard that story so many times.
You're going to Scientology on that one?
Well, I don't know.
Is this where Paul Lynde learns about Scientology?
Yeah. What's Scientology?
It's Lynde Goes Clear special.
I think we have dueling Paul Lyndes over there. Paul, what do you think?
I like the first one better.
What about you, Paul?
It's like the Darrens on Bewitched.
Which one is Dick Sargent?
Oh, they were both dicks to me.
Well, those of you out there that don't know Paul Lynde, this will be a great thing to re-listen to when you're an adult and you've learned all about the greatness of Paul Lynde.
Google Analytics, baby.
Check us out on our website, lastpintprod.com. We are on iTunes. We're on Google Play. We have a brand new player on our website now that will give you links to any podcast app that you're possibly using right now.
And don't hate our player, hate the game.
That's right. That's right. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. We're going for an episode every week this month for our big return.
And if we have to do every one of them without Ben Wilson, God damn it. We will do it.
I know that. I mean, we did talk about Stooges, so we did talk about things from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So Ben will be placated, and he can feed his dark soul.
Well, I'm glad that I got to do a episode without Ben, because whenever I leave town, he's always the first to mention, don't worry, I'll still do a podcast without Nick. He gets so excited that I'm out of town that he can do a podcast without me.
Did you enjoy sitting in the Ben seat tonight?
It's comfy.
Did it feel warm?
Well, little slightly warm. It's a hard chair. It's a big chair to fill.
Do you feel like Beth is more interested in you now that you're in the Ben chair?
No.
I think she begs to differ.
She did say otherwise.
That's right. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next week. Cheers.
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 Everyone just says cheers.
Well, we need one more.
Cheers.
Yeah.
There we go. All right.